including my best friend. A lot of the best people I know are immigrants, and they appreciate America for what actually makes it great, which is its core freedoms. And
what do you mean you're against immigration?
We have too much immigration.
In this video, Tucker Carlson sits down with Chris Cuomo for an interview. Tucker Carlson and Chris Cuomo discuss immigration. With that, let's watch Tucker Carlson annihilate ex-CNN dolt Chris Cuomo.
I'm highly opposed to immigration, but I have to say, including my best friend, a lot of the best people I know are immigrants, and they appreciate America for what actually makes it great, which is its core freedoms. And
what do you mean you're against immigration?
We have too much immigration, and we've made the country totally unstable.
Is there a difference between too much and none?
Well, I'm not against immigration.
You just said
in
that.
theory.
Okay.
We need to shut down all immigration right now until we can retain or regain equilibrium and like figure out what it is that holds us all together as a nation. It's too chaotic. It's too crazy right now. No more people, period, none. Cap it right now, and then just cooling off period, 30 or 40 years.
Cooling off from what? This is all
cooling
stuff
off
that
from
Trump has stoked as
cooling,
the biggest problem we have.
It is the biggest problem we have, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because it creates chaos and disunity. If you have a continental-sized country like we do, the main question you have always, every day, you're thinking about all day long, how do we hold together? How do 50 states not become 50 countries? I mean, that will naturally happen, right? Because each governor sees himself as Caesar. So how do you keep them cohesive? And the only way to do that is it's by consent. It's because everybody thinks we're in this together. So we need a period where we can think through what it is to be an American, what unites us. And immigration makes it impossible because it's too much churn. Things change too fast. Like, who are these people?
But it's how we've populated the country.
Not at this scale. We've never had immigration like this as a portion of the population. We've never had it. This is, and by the way, it's happening at exactly the time when technology is certain to like overturn our economy and employment structure. Like AI is going to change everything. It's too much change at once. People's brains can't handle this much change. And whoever opened the spigot and flooded our country with 15 or 25 million illegals in the past 4 years should be in prison for the rest of his life. That's the worst thing that's ever been done to this country. And I don't know if we can recover from it. And I think it'll become obvious as soon as there's an economic downturn that like the fundamentals have not been tended to at all.
I don't think you can look at immigration as an unprecedented bad in America. It is America. Otherwise, you don't have one. Even if you want to say there are 15 million people who aren't supposed to be here, they all came in illegally. Okay. One, you see how easier it is to say that than to do something about it, right? Because he was going to come in and round them all up, and now
it's an unsolvable problem. Yeah.
Well,
I like that term that Tucker used. We need to shut down the borders so we can regain equilibrium. Kind of feel like that with the Doge cuts as well. You know, everyone's complaining that this job got cut or funding to this agency got cut. It's my belief that we need to cut as much as we can and get as close to a baseline of necessity spending or necessary spending, and then figure out, okay, what are our priorities, and start doling out that money again, kind of stripping down the federal government. I'm not saying dismantle it or anything like that. I'm just saying get as much waste under control as we can, bringing it back to Tucker's comment, to regain equilibrium. Then when it's settled, then we can make decisions about what we're spending more money on. And I get on videos like this all the time and complain about all the illegal immigrants that were let in under Biden. And I talk about all of the negative effects that it has on our country. However, I think I'm being too short-sighted. The only thing that keeps a country together is a shared vision of what the country is. And when you bring in 20, 25 million people from other countries, those perceptions of what this country is are going to be much more vastly different than they would be with American-born citizens and legal immigrants. So I'm not against immigration at all. I just want it done the right way. But if it's possible, like Tucker Carlson said, it needs to be shut down as much as humanly possible right now if we're going to attempt to get everyone back on the same page in the United States. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
The question is it a problem or is it a challenge and it is a mixed bag? You have 7 million open jobs in the country that are necessary. What does that tell you? You don't have enough people to fill them. Okay. So that means that the 15 million people haven't taken everybody's jobs.
Why are we giving government benefits to people here illegally?
It's a legitimate political question. Now, when
no, it's not a political question. It's like it's a social question. It's like a core question. It's like if you want them to fill these jobs, why are you subsidizing them not to work?
Well, it's not that they're subsidizing not to work.
Why are you subsidizing them at all?
because that was a political, that's why I'm saying it's a political decision. They decided to do that. You could decide not to do that. Now, they don't get Social Security benefits. Very often you'll hear.
Well, they're young people. They don't
but
care.
you have a third of, and again, these are all rough estimates because to your point about tracking, we don't do this well here either. You have a third, let's say maybe close to a half of illegal entrants working in this country whose employers pay into Social Security for them.
No, I know all these
They
numbers.
do not get any of the benefits
Right,
of that.
so we should be grateful to the the Haitians.
Not grateful.
Right.
But you got to see it as a mixed bag. It's not they are little
No,
demon seed running around.
I see it as the greatest failure this country's ever presided over, which is the failure to encourage its own citizens to buy into the country sufficient to have kids. You have to have an economy that allows young people who aren't rich, whose parents aren't rich, to get married and have kids. And so rather than fix that problem, you have to import people because, we need workers. Well, what about, we both grew up in a world where people had kids and they don't now. And whose fault is that? It's our leaders' fault. That's like a core fault. That's like a true sin, in my opinion.
It's always been both, right? I'm second generation in this country. So you've always been doing both. You've been having babies and you've been bringing in people because that's the American opportunity.
No, but
right?
what you haven't had is the birth rate just like ending for native-born Americans. Ending. And then you have the thing I referred to earlier, which is the chaos of change.
You don't think Trump made a boogeyman of illegal entrants in this country by saying they're the bad hombres, they're all bringing the murders, and you know that the crime rate among that population isn't the same as the native population.
A single crime by an illegal alien is unacceptable. Illegal immigration is unacceptable. It's
The
not a real
one
country
is too
if
many
you
is
don't
a
have
very
borders.
convenient standard, though.
It's not.
We don't use that anywhere
You're not
else.
from here. You're not American. What are you doing here? You broke laws of my country to get here.
Yes.
And you expect me to like it and me to kiss your ass and me to give you housing vouchers and food stamps and free education for your kids. What? I didn't sign up for that. I was born here. I actually like immigrants. That's what I was trying to say. Elon Musk, my best friend and business partner.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
A million immigrants I love, but inviting people in illegally, immediately putting them on welfare when they have no relevant skills to a tech economy, which they don't. A lot of them can't read. We don't know their real names. How is that good for America? In no sense is it. It's the destruction of America. And everyone knows that. And everyone's so paralyzed by race guilt, they can't say it. But it's not about race. It's about a basic question that any country has to ask itself, which is, what do I have in common with my neighbors? Why are we all in this together? I got nothing in common with my neighbors now. We don't speak the same language. So how is this a country?
God forbid there was another 9/11. Would we come together? I want to say yes. I don't know. Certainly, I know how President Trump would handle it, and it would not.
We've
be the way
imported
President
a
Bush
lot
did.
of foreign conflicts into this country. I just want to say that.
Meaning
That one of the byproducts of immigration is people bring their ancient resentments with them. And that should not be allowed. Period. Like, you want to come to our country for the opportunity, for the freedom, great. But you cannot, once you arrive, use the things that you're mad about in your home country to influence my foreign policy. My family's been here a long time. That's not allowed. It's not your country, actually. We're welcoming you, but you can't bring your ancient hatreds with you. And a lot of different groups have. And it affects our foreign policy. I really resent it. It's my money, my children's lives on the line, and my country.
And yet, here's a counterfactual. What do we see happening in Europe right now that isn't happening here? Them having huge numbers of Muslims from
I don't know where Chris is going with this statement, starting out with that sentence. Doesn't it seem like there is an entitlement by illegal immigrants that's been fostered by the Democrat Party? Because I am entitled to nothing. You watching this are entitled to nothing, and neither are illegal immigrants. I only say that to point out that I apply the same philosophy to everyone. If you notice, Chris Cuomo, when challenged, like, why are we funding immigrants at all? He said, well, that's a political question, and moved past it. He never answered it, though. And I cannot think of a single reason, truly, I can't think of one. I can't think of a single reason why we would spend American tax dollars on illegal immigrants that broke the law to come into our country. It makes zero sense. And it's so weird. The Democrats always cite about illegal immigrants. Who's going to pick our fruit? Who's going to be our nannies? Who's going to clean up and do the quote unquote jobs Americans don't want to do? That's how they view illegal immigrants, as less than. They view them as cheap labor. You think big business is in favor of locking down the border? I promise you it's not. They can pay illegal immigrants as little as they're willing to work for. So it benefits the company, it hurts the country, it benefits Democrats because they're the ones pushing for them to get all this free stuff, hoping for a little quid pro quo for their vote. But everyday Americans are put in danger. They have to fight even harder for jobs. It's a drain on our social safety net. And like Tucker's talking about here, it massively widens our cultural divide. And ultimately, that's what could be the end of the United States as we know it. And I'm not a doomsday guy. I'm just saying, if there's one thing that could end the country, that could certainly be it. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Different ethnic extracts in that part of the globe coming into societies, not assimilating.
I agree.
That's certainly what the French are dealing with and what the UK is dealing with to a little bit of a lesser extent. In America, that hasn't happened. Yes, we're farther away, but hasn't happened. Muslims come into this country. It's one of 2 countries on the face of the planet that have more Jews than Muslims. Probably won't stay that way. But when they come into this country, they assimilate. And we don't do what the French allowed, which is to have them all living together and separate from the rest of the society. America
That's
is
historically been true. The only things, having spent a long time in Europe, I would say, one, I think it's unfair to blame. It's like everyone blames the European populations, and this was imposed on them by their leaders. Don't blame them. A. B, Europe is just way smaller. It's way smaller. And so the United States is so big that I've spent my whole life here. There are a lot of parts of the country, I don't know what's going on there. And I travel a lot in this country, and I go to places, I'm like, what is this? It bears no resemblance to what I thought was here. Totally different. Go to Portland, Maine. It doesn't look anything like the Portland, Maine you remember. And there's no evidence people are assimilating at all.
Look, if there's any assimilation right now, that's nice, but it's going to be short-lived. We are in the infancy of these 10, 20 million or more illegal immigrants coming into this country. We have no idea what the assimilation is going to look like. But even if it seems fine right now, there's no way, however you measure it, you can't maintain a positive percentage or level of assimilation when you've allowed this many people into your country illegally. And as a matter of fact, I'd rather not see them assimilate. I'd rather they be sent home. But we want to hear from you. What do you all think about the long-term effects of illegal immigrants coming into our country? Is it something to be concerned about, or is it something that will work itself out regardless of how we manage it? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.